Okay, let's unpack this. Here's a stark reality, really. Men die by suicide nearly 4 times more often than women.
Yeah. 4 times.
Yes.
That's huge.
It is. That's according to the CDC in 2023. And, when you hear that, it makes you think about stories like Kevin Hines.
Oh, the Golden Gate Bridge survivor?
Exactly. That realization he had mid-fall, that his problems were fixable. It forces you to ask, why? Why are so many men feeling that, these permanent solutions are the only way out?
That's really the core of what we're exploring today in this deep dive. It's often called a silent crisis, isn't it?
It is.
And we're focusing on this piece, the power of vulnerability in men, rewriting the rules of masculinity. What really jumps out, I think, is this idea of the invisible scripts.
Invisible scripts, like unspoken rules.
Kind of, yeah.
Hmm.
These deeply ingrained ideas about how men are supposed to act, how they should handle emotions, how they present themselves, often totally unspoken.
Right. And our goal here isn't just to list off grim statistics. We want to get into the why, the history behind men suppressing emotions.
And the actual costs, right? What happens when you keep up that facade of strength all the time?
Exactly. And crucially, how maybe embracing vulnerability isn't weakness at all, but actually a real source of strength. We're hoping to find some aha moments for you listening.
Yeah, maybe bring some clarity, challenge some of those traditional ideas about masculinity that maybe aren't serving anyone anymore.
So these invisible scripts, the source material makes it clear, they aren't hardwired into men biologically.
No, not at all. They've changed with society. If you go way, way back, pre-industrial times, men as hunters, the focus was hypervigilance, quick reactions.
Not exactly the time for sharing deep feelings around the campfire, I guess.
Probably not, no. Survival mode.
Okay, so fast forward. The 1950s, post-war boom.
Right, and you get the rise of the organization man. Suddenly, keeping emotions in check wasn't just, practical. It became linked with professionalism, being reliable, stoic.
The dependable provider image. Keep a stiff upper lip at the office.
Exactly. And then the 80s kind of turbocharged that almost into a caricature, didn't it? This whole toxic masculinity idea.
Oh, yeah. The action heroes. Terminator types.
Totally emotionless, indestructible. The subtle message, or maybe not so subtle, was real men are tough, silent, definitely not vulnerable.
It feels like this heavy mask passed down. And the data really shows the pressure. Pew Research, 2023, 62% of men think society punishes them if they show vulnerability.
62%. Just think about that fear of judgment.
It's huge.
And it has real-world effects. Like, the National Fire Protection Association found 78% of male firefighters hide their stress.
Wow. Firefighters, people in an incredibly stressful job.
Yeah, they worry about looking weak in front of the team.
It's that need to be the rock for everyone, no matter what you're feeling inside. And the personal toll. Well, the text mentions this case study. Raj, an ER doctor in Mumbai.
Right, someone in a high-stakes, high-control profession.
But he was having panic attacks. And for years, he just kind of laughed them off, deflected.
Until it led to a misdiagnosis, right? And he had this powerful realization that his silence wasn't strength. It was, what did he call it? Negligence.
Negligence, yeah.
Yeah.
That really hits home, the danger of just pushing it all down.
And it's not just these extreme jobs. This facade, it affects everything. Let's talk physical health. American Heart Association, 2023. Suppressed emotions linked to a 57% higher risk of hypertension.
57%. That's a physical consequence. It's not just in your head. For you listening, it just shows how tied together emotional and physical health really are.
Yeah.
You ignore one, the other suffers.
Absolutely. And it goes deeper, right down to our cells. A UC study in 2021 found suppressing emotions can actually speed up cellular aging.
How?
Shorten telomeres by about 10%. We're talking real biological wear and tear from bottling things up.
Wow. Okay, so physical health, cellular aging. Then there's the mental health aspect. November Foundation 2023. 1 in 3 men feel persistently lonely.
1 in 3, that's a lot.
But only 12% admitted to their friends.
That gap. It's enormous, feeling it but not saying it. That fear, again, it's not just about being alone, it's the risk you feel in admitting you're lonely, even to mates.
Yeah, and that reluctance, it even shows up in really tough situations like caregiving. NIH data from 2022.
Yeah.
Male caregivers.
Like dads of kids with disabilities, for example. They experience depression at twice the rate of non-caregivers.
Twice the rate, but
they seek help 40% less often. It's like a double whammy. You need the support more, but you're way less likely to actually ask for it.
And relationships. That takes a hit, too.
Definitely. American Sociological Review, 2020. Emotional unavailability cited in 67% of divorces started by women.
2/3. That inability to connect emotionally, to share, breaks things down. But okay, so that's the downside. What about the flip side? When men do open up,
Yeah.
especially thinking about parenting.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Journal of Family Psychology, 2021. Fathers who model vulnerability. Their sons have a 35% higher emotional IQ.
35%. Just by showing your own feelings.
Yeah.
That's powerful. You're teaching the next generation it's okay.
Exactly. And it's interesting how different cultures handle this. The text brings up Japan. Hana versus Tetme.
Your true feelings versus your public face.
Right. And tragically, that intense pressure is linked to karoshi, death by overwork. Thousands of men.
Awful. That pressure to maintain the facade, literally lethal.
But you also see changes happening, like in Nigeria, this soft life movement. It's challenging those old school hyper-masculine ideas. You've got public figures talking openly about therapy.
Like David Adalik, right?
Exactly. It shows a cultural shift might be starting.
And Scandinavia. That's a really interesting case. The EU Health Report 2023.
Yeah.
They found a link between generous paternity leave.
Like in Sweden, what is it, 480 days?
Something like that. A link between that and a 20% lower male suicide rate.
Wow. So creating space for men to be caregivers, to be emotionally present at home, it seems to have a massive positive impact on mental health.
It really does. Which brings us to like the science behind opening up. It's not just fuzzy feelings. There's brain chemistry involved.
Totally. University of Zurich 2022, when you share struggles, your brain releases oxytocin.
The bonding hormone.
Right. And that lowers cortisol, the stress hormone, by about 37%. It's your biology rewarding connection.
So talking about what's bugging you literally lowers your stress.
Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah. And it's not just about feeling better. Stanford Neuroscience Lab 2021, doing vulnerability exercises can actually improve your decision making by about 19%.
How does that work?
Well, the thinking is, if you're not spending all this mental energy keeping up a front.
You free up brain power for other stuff. Makes sense.
Exactly. Which is why we really need to bust some myths here, like the idea that vulnerability is feminine.
Right. The text points out testosterone doesn't block empathy. It's society that tells men not to show it.
Yeah. Look at the animal kingdom. Male elephants, lions, wolves. They show communal care. It's not unmasculine.
The whole tears are weak thing.
Ugh, yeah. Needs to go. Tears literally release stress hormones like prolactin. Biochemical Journal 2020, crying once or twice a month linked to 45% lower burnout in men.
It's a biological release valve, not weakness.
Exactly. And vulnerability isn't like one size fits all. It's a spectrum. The text breaks it down nicely. Level 1. Basic disclosure.
Just saying, I'm feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, simple as that. Mayo Clinic, 2023, even that can lower your heart rate by 22 beats per minute.
Wow. A real physical response to just being honest. Okay, level 2.
Sharing shame, admitting something deeper, like I feel like a fraud as a parent.
Oof, that takes courage.
It does. And a UCLA study found it creates mirror neuron resonance. Your brain kind of syncs up with the other person's feeling.
Like empathy on a neurological level?
Pretty much. You feel that Me Too connection, which reduces isolation and builds bonds fast.
Okay, and level 3.
Collective healing. Think public figures. Prince Harry talking about his grief.
Right, his book Spare.
UK Council for Psychotherapy reported a 400% spike in men seeking therapy after that came out.
400%. That's staggering.
Yeah.
It shows how one person being open can give so many others permission.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating how even places you'd think are resistant, like the military, are starting to shift. This warrior's paradox.
Yeah, the U.S. Army's master resilience trainers, they're reframing vulnerability as, what was it, strategic risk-taking.
Right. Not weakness, but smart risk assessment. Understanding your fears to be a better leader. And they're seeing results, 14% drop in PTSD post-deployment.
And the Navy SEALs. They do fear shares.
Yeah. Before missions, they talk openly about doubts, anxieties, and it's linked to a 27% higher mission success rate.
So acknowledging fear actually makes them better at their jobs.
Seems like it. There's that quote from Commander John Davis.
Oh yeah. A SEAL who claims he's never scared is either lying or dangerous.
That nails it, doesn't it? Honesty about limitations, not pretending they don't exist.
So this all points toward redefining what alpha even means.
Totally. The text contrasts the old alpha, all about power over others, transactional, with the new alpha.
Which is more about servant leadership, emotional agility.
Adaptive resilience, yeah.
Yeah.
Recognizing emotions, understanding them, responding adaptively instead of being ruled by them. It's a different kind of strength.
And we're seeing this play out in business too, right? Tech companies?
Yeah, Microsoft under Satya Nadella, he shared his personal story about his son. Profits went up 148% in 5 years.
Wow. And Airbnb, Brian Chesky.
He holds vulnerability hours. Employee retention jumped 33%. It suggests leadership vulnerability creates a stronger, more connected workplace.
So the text blows this down to 5 pillars of modern alpha mastery. What are they?
Okay, first, emotional precision. Yale study just naming an emotion can cut its intensity by half.
Just putting a label on it. Okay.
Second, strategic humility, admitting mistakes. Harvard Business Review found that builds team trust by 41%.
Makes sense. Third,
Relational friction, basically healthy conflict. MIT Sloan found resolving it well boosts creativity by 29%.
it's not avoiding conflict, but handling it constructively. Got it. Fourth,
Purpose-driven grit, focusing on your why, not just the what. Journal of Positive Psychology linked that to way more fulfillment.
and the last one.
Legacy mindset, understanding that modeling vulnerability, showing it, can cut suicide risk in younger men by 18%. That's CDC data. Thinking about the impact you have.
These are powerful pillars, and
Yeah.
there are stories of real guys putting this into action.
Yeah, James, the construction foreman, he started connecting with other guys, admitted he needed more family time, negotiated a 4-day week.
And his productivity went up.
Apparently. And the whole team ended up doing it too. Imagine that shift on a construction site.
That's amazing. And Diego, the divorcee.
Yeah, turned his pain into the Dads Who Cry podcast. Now it sponsors therapy for over 150 men.
Incredible. Taking vulnerability and making something positive that helps others.
Exactly. So, for you listening, how do you start doing this? The text offers some practical stuff.
Like the vulnerability workout plan.
Yeah, daily journaling maybe, weekly courage calls with a friend you trust, even monthly failure resumes.
A failure resume. I like that. Reframing setbacks as learning.
Right. And the toolkit has things like the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique for anxiety.
5 things you see before you touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Or even vulnerability bingo, tracking small, everyday acts of openness.
It makes it less daunting, maybe.
Yeah.
And it addresses pushback too, right? Because that's real.
Definitely. Using I statements at work, the 20-minute rule with a partner, just uninterrupted listening each day.
And that internal voice changing don't be weak to choose courage.
Yeah, consciously reframing it highlights that vulnerability often isn't about huge confessions. It's these small, consistent acts.
And they add up. This brotherhood revolution idea. Brazil's Holman's K. Chorum, Men Who Cry.
Yeah, these beachside vulnerability circles. Powerful stuff.
And Australia's Men's Table. Just regular gatherings for men to connect.
Linked to a 9% drop in regional suicide rates. It backs up what Dr. Bruce Perry says. We don't heal in isolation, we heal in community.
Community is key. And finally, there's an economic angle too.
Yeah. Deloitte estimated a $23.5 billion loss in the U.S. from male presenteeism.
Meaning guys are at work, but checked out emotionally.
Basically. And the World Economic Forum found that for every dollar spent on male mental health programs, the ROI is about $6.
So investing in this makes economic sense too. It's not just a nice to have.
Absolutely not. So really, as we wrap this up, the main takeaway is pretty clear, isn't it? That old school stoic model of masculinity, it's broken, it's harmful.
Yeah. True strength, it seems, isn't about hiding feelings. It's about the courage to face them, understand them, share them.
Which brings it back to you listening. Will you keep holding on to that rusted armor, as the text puts it? Or choose the liberating discomfort of truth?
When will you decide to take off the mask? Think about those moments, maybe, where you held back out of fear. Those pressures are real.
They really are. But maybe the final thought from all this is the world doesn't need more pretend invincibility. It needs realness. It needs you vulnerable, but also resilient and just. Genuine. Maybe think about one small step, just one thing you could do after listening to this to embrace that new kind of strength.